take it! This is the greatest thrill of my life! I'm king of the world! Woohoo! Woohoo! Ah! Ooh, oh, oh, go, 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 oh, go, oh, go, go.
What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quartering, and a massive plunge in The Last of Us 2 sales numbers. Japan hates the game, an early open world version, and a couple of other stories. As we wind up the news cycle for The Last of Us 2, I have really enjoyed all of the comments in the comment section and all of the new viewers that it's brought in. If you are in the nearly 40% of people that watch my videos but aren't subscribed, I'm hoping today will be the day that I earn it. I hope today will be the day that you click that little red subscribe button down below the video. I don't just cover The Last of Us 2. I cover tech censorship. I cover Twitch. I cover movies, music, entertainment, just about everything. Now, The Last of Us 2 apparently was once more open world and spent more time in Jackson. This via IGN. The Last of Us 2 takes a lot of decision cues and lessons from developer Naughty Dog's recent games, including its direct predecessor, the Uncharted series. The final result is a linearly focused adventure, but one that often opens up into the studio's biggest environments and levels. And at one point, it could have been an even greater departure from past games. Speaking to IGN ahead of The Last of Us 2, director Neil Druckmann discussed how early ideas of the game would have been open world. See, now, that would have been something I'd be more interested in. You know, the on-rails story mode, though, is more of, I would say, what The Last of Us is really about. But, you know, open world certainly would have made for, better replayability, more time in the game, more value for your dollar. That's not the road they chose ultimately. That's their right, of course. And CNET is still out there straight shilling for the game. The Last of Us Part 2 is getting internet hate. You can ignore it. Commentary, the much anticipated sequel is getting plenty of 0 of 10 reviews, but you don't need to pay attention to that. Right, but you should pay attention to the 10 out of 10 reviews. All the 10 out of 10 best game ever reviews, those are fully legitimate. Those are absolutely positively from people who have played all 25 hours of the story mode, have analyzed the graphics, controls, and all possible bugs, and you should just assume if it says 10 out of 10 that it's 100% grade A legit.
By a 2-year-old monkey on a farm, and he just accepted that I put all this work into it.
Now, less than 2 weeks before The Last of Us 2's June 19th release date, its director Neil Druckmann said they expected the game to divide gamers. Okay, so they went into the game knowing that it was going to divide gamers, and now you're whining that gamers are divided about it. See, you can't have it both ways. Sure, between a gay female protagonist and an ethnically diverse set of characters, The Last of Us Part 2 has had hallmarks of the game that would provoke one of the internet's most sensitive, volatile segments, but I naively thought the game was absorbing, thrilling, and even profound enough to blunt much of the predicted vitriol. So, of course, if you didn't like this game, then you are a bad person, then you are a bigot, or whatever the case may be. This is just the line that every game urinalist continues to use. I forgot that I'd kind of retired game urinalist because, things like soy and incel, those are in retirement stages. But urinalist seems to continue to be accurate. The past days of the game's launch proved me spectacularly wrong. Look over at Metacritic. You'll see The Last of Us Part 2 as a score of 94 based on 108 critic scores, a user score 4.8 from just under 100,000 people. Check out the game's hashtag on Twitter, and you'll find tweets marveling at its intensity and storytelling, wedged among tweets calling The Last of Us Part 2 a deception, an insult, or astonishingly the worst game of all time. Now, I've said on this channel before, and I'll say it again, of course the game is not a 0 out of 10.
This game is an insult to a previous game. It has better technology than before, but has story like garbage.
Very nice.
That was
very good.
very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
but it's also, of course, not a 10 out of 10. And every one of these bold internet game urinalists like Daniel Von Boom conveniently leave that out. They don't go out of their way to say that, well, sure, the 10 out of 10s are likely a little too positive as well. Why are people so mad? It's unfair to say everyone who dislikes The Last of Us Part 2 is a closed-minded troll. Wow, thank you. But the game hadn't been out for a full day before the 0 out of 10 reviews started rolling in, and so a lot of trolling. Yes, but again, a lot of 10 out of 10s rolled in as well. I mean, there are a lot of us, a lot of people that just didn't like the story, and you only needed to play it 2 hours, even if you weren't spoiled, right? A lot of those reviews came from people that saw the entire... See, this is a thing that people keep forgetting. A lot of people saw the entire video game, the entire story, months ago, and that they had to wait several months before they could leave their official review. You knew how the game... You knew all the major plot points of the game. You knew the story mode. You knew that you weren't playing as the main... You know, who you play as a new character. You knew lots of important things about the game months ago. So if you didn't like the story and you left a review on day 0, you know, with the first possibility you could leave a review, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're just hateful or that you don't know anything about the game. That's not exactly how that works. And, you know, these games journalists keep insinuating that that's how it is. The Last of Us 2 is without a doubt the worst video game of the year. I can't express how bad this game is in every detail, every part of the story. This is a disgrace. Okay, 69 likes. It's not like this was a super widely shared tweet. These words have been in the making for 7 years. Last of Us Part 2, read a specific. Your manipulation on the role of Joel in the Last of Us Part 2 trailers was disgusting. You manipulated consumers and it's trash. Thank you for validating my cancellation. Well, they did do that. I mean, they absolutely did. They allowed users or viewers, gamers, to think that Joel was going to be in the game when in fact all they showed you were flashbacks and they ripped him from your control in just about 2 hours. All these articles shilling for the game continue to minimize the very real reason why people were upset. And look at this, you know how everyone was calling The Last of Us 2 a stunning success. Now, you can't take away the fact that it moved 4 million copies in the first weekend. You can't take away the fact that it was the fastest selling PlayStation 4 exclusive of all time. But there is context there. There are more people now than ever that own a PlayStation 4. Marketing budgets are bigger than they've ever been. The Last of Us 2 had nearly 20 million copies sold going into this. So moving 4 million copies the opening weekend, I suppose, can be spun to be very, very positive. But I'm looking at it like, dang, you sold almost 20 million copies across 2 different consoles before. How come you didn't sell like 10 million copies in the first weekend? And then look at this. The Last of Us Part 2 retains top spot in the UK charts. Last week, The Last of Us 2 debuted on top of the UK charts for box video game sales in pole position, enjoying the biggest launch ever for any PS4 exclusive, though it has seen an 80% drop in physical sales this week. It manages to hold its position via game industry, considering its sales of 4 million units worldwide in the first 3 days. Such a drop is understandable. Is it, though? Why is it understandable? Don't you think that if all of these people, 4 million people in 3 days, bought The Last of Us 2 and they loved it, and they were telling everybody that The Last of Us 2 was an amazing game, and that all of these people currently leaving negative reviews on Metacritic are just trolls, shouldn't sales have just exploded? Shouldn't sales have just continued to be super strong? I mean, is my logic that bad? In my mind, I would assume that if that first week was so good and the game was so great, and all of these meanies that left negative reviews on Metacritic were just trolls, you would not expect as much of a huge drop-off. Now, maybe part of it is that included in that was pre-orders. That might be a reason, but that's not what they said. If they said, well, you know, 60% of the sales in the first weekend are from pre-orders, and that's why you saw a big drop in the second week, okay, maybe. Maybe. But then you can look at this article via Senkaku. Several copies of The Last of Us 2 being resold on Mercari. An observant individual has spotted numerous buyers of The Last of Us 2 are now trying to sell their copies on the Japanese marketplace app Mercari. The seller's probably trying to squeeze out all the value of the game they can, perhaps hinting it's not worth playing more than once. The Twitter denizen uploaded scrolling through all of The Last of Us 2 copies being sold by users, ranging from 4,500 yen to 15,000 yen. What's that conversion? 30 bucks. Okay. That's, I mean, well, actually it's 4,500 yen. So it's not that much of a discount. 40 bucks. I suppose if you paid 60, you know, that's a legitimate discount. You see a lot of them in the $40 range, $50 range. I don't know what the price is in yen either. Is a new copy in Japan more expensive? I don't know. Certainly it's a lot of people who bought the game that aren't exactly super excited to keep the game. But let's look at eBay. Here's one for 45. Here's one for 42, disc only. 38 watchers, no bids. Here's one for 9 bids, 31 bucks. Here's 4 bids for 43. So it's, I mean, people are still getting it for 40. Here's buy it now for 46 bucks. That's pretty crazy. Here's 35 bucks. So it's probably selling for around $40 to $45 on eBay. Not even a week after the game's been out. Why would you have bought this game ahead of time? Why would anyone pre-order? Why? Even if you want to play it release week, you can still get it 30 to 40% off. And if you wait another week, you'll probably get it 50% off. You could probably snipe one of these in the $20 range. Here's 28 bucks. You could probably snipe that for 28 bucks plus shipping. I'd be willing to bet a lot of these people didn't play the game all the way through either. The Twitter denizen uploaded a video scrolling through all of The Last of Us 2, and here's just all of the videos, all of the copies for sale currently. That's a lot. So I don't think Japan is very happy with the game. A lot of people unloading it pretty early. Again, though, here in the United States, I could probably narrow this down a little bit more. 134 copies. Let's look at number of them under 35 bucks. I can get 24 of them. That's not very many, considering when you have hundreds in Japan. But you can see some, you know, pretty cheap. Here's one going. Here's one 28 bucks. Buy your games on eBay. Buy them used. This is crazy talk. There's a lot. Actually, there's a lot. That number's now right. There's definitely hundreds on here. There's way more than 20 or 30. This is 100 at least on this page, or 50 at least on this page. People are definitely unloading this game at a discount willingly, and I'm not surprised. Definitely a lot of people, you know, hey, Neil Druckmann wanted it to be divisive. Stop pre-ordering your games. Just stop. It's not worth it. Okay, maybe you make the argument for Cyberpunk, but even that, I'm seeing a lot of features kind of getting removed, and there are some questionable things happening there. Just wait. Just wait. There is literally no real benefit unless you review video games for a living or you stream them. There's no benefit to not just waiting a week. One, you'll avoid buying games that have divisive stories on purpose that you might not like. Two, you'll avoid games that have bad day one glitches. By the time you get it, it'll probably already be patched out. Three, you'll get it for half the price. Wait to buy. And with that information, little advice, I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.